What's up guys, Keyu's back and I'm here with another video. But today I wanted to talk about something that's really been bothering me for a long time. But after going to E3 and talking to people at E3, it kind of really poked at me more than it usually has in the past years. And that would be fanboys. One of the biggest problems with the gaming industry. Probably that parasite that you finally get out your system and somehow makes its way back into it. It's like, I don't really see the point in it. What fanboys are is those people in the gaming industry that fanboys or fangirls that will play a game on a particular console. Let it be Xbox One, PS4, Nintendo Switch, Wii U, Game Boy, PlayStation Vita, any console, PC, any of that, and they will sit there and play that one console, and they will tell you that this console is better in any way to the other console. This could be someone talking about PS4 compared to Xbox One or compared to Nintendo Switch. They will sit there and tell you that this game is better on this console, and I don't really see the point in that because it's multi-platform for a reason. And I think that's mainly because if you can only afford this one console at this time, get that one and don't worry about getting this one until a later period. I feel like every gamer should own every single console at one point in time. I don't feel like they should set their mind to just one console, and that's because each console has a problem. And I hate that these fanboys will sit here and tell you that there's nothing wrong with that console, because there is. For example, when X was first announced, the gaming industry basically blew up, and because they knew the hype behind Scorpio, and for them to finally show it in the games on it and to tell us that it's full 4K, that's a big deal. Because going to the inferior part of the PS4 and Sony, they lied to us. They told us that the PS4 Pro was going to be 4K, and it wasn't. So now you have a console where it's actually going to be 4K, and there's no lie about that. They showed it on screen and all that. They showed you the specs. They showed you the inside of the console. So yeah, it's going to be 4K. And I give Microsoft that. I respect them for bringing something to us that kind of bridges the gap between PC and console gaming, and it brings PC games to the consoles. So I mean, I respect them for that. Having the Xbox One X, I mean, that 4K is cool and all, but I mean, let's be real. Microsoft kind of broke all of our hearts last year when they had one of the biggest hits, one of the biggest blows that they can take to Sony with Scalebound, and all of a sudden it just disappeared. I mean, they made hype out the wazoo with this game. Like, everybody was excited for it. They had so many comparisons, plus they had like a dragon, and this dude had like he had these headphones, and like it wouldn't play nothing, but as soon as he put these headphones on and started playing music, like there was so much hype behind it.
I'm me. Alright, let's go. Over there!
They paint the perfect picture for you, and it lets you know that like it's real. It's not like, not only because it had dragons in the gameplay, but it had co-op. It had some of the best co-op that you could have in the game, and it seemed so enjoyable. And like, that would have been beautiful on 4K. Like, it would have been the perfect launch game, perfect one. And you compare that game to the games that they could launch now, it's like you knew that you screwed yourself over by letting that game go. So like when they canceled that, it opens gamers' eyes, and it should have opened every gamer's eyes, not just mine, as to how, because you know this company has a lot of money, and you know that something could have been done. And the fact that they rebought the trademark, that's a spit in our face now, because they're still not promising us the game. That's just letting you know that it still exists, but you're not telling us that it's being worked on at all. That like it upset me even more when they released that, when they told us that. It really ticked me off, and it should have ticked everybody off. Annoying, because at this point in time you should just have one cord that connects from the console to the outlet.
Bruh.
That I needed me a cushion. Eventually I'm gonna buy a chair. But anyway, back to what I was saying. The brick in the Xbox One is such a huge issue to me, because like if you mess up that brick, or if you put that part of the console, if you put the plug in there wrong in any type of way, you could possibly screw up your entire console. All this could just be changed if you would just get one cord that just goes from console to outlet. I don't know what is so hard about that. And PS4 has that. They have that one cord that goes from console to wall. But it makes it easier. It's easy to bring along. I mean, I hate carrying around that brick. I really hate that. I don't see what's Microsoft's big deal with that. But we'll say that I gotta give Sony some more props though. On a positive note, they did finally take away the brick with the Xbox One X. They finally took it out. And I didn't think that was ever gonna leave. Like seriously, that if I thought that by now, if they would have still had that going, something was wrong. But I'm happy that they let that go, and I hope that they still have it going by the time that they release the Xbox One X. If they bring the brick back in the Xbox One X, that's like the biggest slap that you can take to all of us. The Xbox One S was not superior to the console that you're giving us. And I also hope that they take another step with this next console by taking the batteries out. Oh, I would love Microsoft for that. That would be great. I really hope that they do that, because that's a step that Sony has on them, is having a console with a controller without batteries in it. That way, when your controller dies, you don't have to go and get some more batteries. I mean, they have charger packs, but I mean that's stupid. How Sony has designed their controller, it lasts longer, in my opinion. My personal opinion, I believe that controller lasts longer. That's not posing any favoritism. That's just me saying that controller in general is superior. I'm not dogging Xbox controller. It is still a good controller, but battery life, it's nah. If they take the batteries out, that'd be really cool. I would really love that, but. Like the brick, that's always been an issue with me and Xbox. I've always hated that. First of all, they kind of lost some of my care for them after their whole reservation thing at E3, and how the only games that we could reserve, there was only one that was the true exclusive, and that was Detroit. All the other ones was like Destiny and Call of Duty, which could be played over in Microsoft's. You didn't have to make a reservation. You just stood in line for a long time. They give us all these games. And it's like this year they showed us games, but once I look back at these games and I look over the trailers, it's like they didn't really show us anything new. They just showed us what they told us about last year. Or they showed us, like this year with Spider-Man, they showed us a little bit of gameplay, and they showed us a little bit of God of War. But for the things that they announced that were huge last year, or huge at the beginning of this year, that we were kind of looking forward to, like The Last of Us, they didn't show anything for. And that could have brought them over the edge if they would have showed us something new, something that we were kind of anticipating. And it's like they just showed us a bunch of the same thing. Just I'm gonna just show you this, even though we just showed you this last year, but whatever. It's Sony, so I feel like what they're bringing to the table, it's exclusives, but it's not like we don't know much about it, And like my deal with Sony is, it's like they feel that they are better, and they use that to their advantage. Cause like I feel like the Xbox One X really opened up their eyes. I believe they may not have wanted to say it, but I'm sure that it did, because it exposed them for what they are. Because they only showed us games on a PS4 Pro, which is a console that upscales the game. It makes it look 4K, which means that they basically make it look prettier, but it's not true 4K. And Microsoft is showing that they can do it, which means that it can be done. So it shows that Sony could do it if they wanted to, but they are just too lazy to do it. So I feel like now they're on top of their toes. But my issue with them is that they'll have a drop period, and then they'll just release all the games that you need to release to have the gamers happy. Like we went through the same thing last year. We had a drop through 2016, but then once the beginning of 2017 came, we had like a whole first year of just nothing but games, exclusives. And that's a positive but a negative, because it drags out. Because you're not going to sell really anything at the end of the year unless you put out bundles, which I'm sure they're going to do, bundles with the game that they just released at the beginning of the year. So it's like, it's not like a launch. It's not like they can bring out a new game and then like say you can get this on the console as a bundle, but then you can get this game that just released at the beginning of the year for free. I mean, that would be a pretty like dope deal. I don't see why they wouldn't do that. But they pushed everything to next year, and I mean that's another issue with Microsoft. Like Microsoft will go and they'll tell you about all these games, which was pretty much 95% of the games that they showed, and all of them would come out on the launch of it, but they're only timed exclusives, which defeats the purpose of calling it an exclusive, because eventually it'll go to the other console. You can just play it here first, which I mean a lot of people would bite on, because it's gonna be the best console anyway. But like if it's coming to that and PC, I'm gonna choose PC, me personally, because I don't want to spend that extra $500. So when it comes to that, you have to have games that will only be on the Xbox One X, that will not only look better but only be found on there. And they don't have a lot. They don't have anything coming out on the Xbox One X, and that's just to be honest with you. They only have like what, Sea of Thieves, Crackdown, Cuphead. That's pretty much the top ones. The top ones besides Anthem, but that doesn't really count because it's time. True exclusives, Sea of Thieves, Crackdown, Cuphead. That's the biggest hits, pretty much. Everything else is eventually going to go to the other console. So once you look at it from that aspect, it's like, this. What are you defending? If you are mainly for Xbox and you're telling Sony that they're trash and Microsoft is where it's at, I mean, how can you really say that if you don't really have anything to play? Like, you're gonna buy that console at the end of the year, and you're gonna play Crackdown, which is gonna be a short game, and you're gonna play Sea of Thieves, which you're gonna play with your friends. And then by the beginning of the next year, you're gonna have a dry console, like what the Wii U did, when you had all these games coming out, and then you just had a dry period, and you just collected dust. That could be the possibility of what Xbox will be having next year, because like pretty much everything is going to Sony. One of my biggest issues is like they'll sit here and just defend something that's not to defend. Like if you're for Nintendo and you're all about that, Nintendo got a lot coming with like Mario Odyssey and the Rabbids game, Yoshi, Kirby. They got They got a lot. Metroid, they got a lot coming. But the Nintendo Switch not only is limited in supply, it's limited as a console in general. It don't have like the graphics. It don't have the power. A lot of these multi-platform games, it's not going to be true multi-platform because they're not going to come to the Switch because it don't got the power to play it on it. You gonna have a really downgraded game, and possibility is going to have a lot of problems with it because it don't have it. It just don't have it as a console, which can be argued because of Breath of the Wild and Super Mario Odyssey, just to name a few. But from like a company that is at this point in time used to bringing all the games up to 4K now, since they have the Xbox One X, they have to make that engine for that, and then you go to the Nintendo Switch and you gotta change everything. Like, a lot of people is not gonna want to do that, so that brings another issue into it. And then, not to mention when the Nintendo Switch first launched, you couldn't even cut the thing off. Did anybody even care to mention that? Like, you couldn't even cut the system off and went into sleep mode. They had to make a patch to put a power switch in it to make you be able to switch it off. So how you gonna name a console Nintendo Switch, but you couldn't even switch it off? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it just don't make sense to me. Like, and they will sit here and defend these consoles. There's nothing to defend. Just say that you love games. If you have a particular console, just say that you picked that console because that's what you had the money for. There is no reason to bash any other console because we are all gamers and we all love gaming. So what's the hate about? It just don't make sense to me. And like once the gaming community can realize that, we can call each part of the industry out on the BS. Like, Sony gets away with a lot because they have people behind them that will bash the other console and say that what you're doing is great. But all of them have flaws, and they will sit there and defend Microsoft as a superior one and they have batteries in their controllers. That's probably the biggest issue that I have with Microsoft: batteries. Why is it in there? I hate that so much, and they refuse to take that out. Like, if the Xbox One X comes out and it still has the batteries in it, I'm gonna question Microsoft, because you have all this money to add teraflops, but you can't put a simple wireless controller and have it actually be wireless without batteries. You know? So, like, once we find a balance to each console, and on top of that, find a balance in the gaming industry as gamers, I don't feel like the gaming industry will be where it needs to be to better itself, because you always have some people to bring it down, and I feel like that's always going to be a parasite. If you're a fanboy, you are a parasite. I hate to say it like that, but you are a parasite. And until you realize that game console that you are bashing is not superior, until you realize that it is not a perfect console, you will continue to bring this industry down. So, like, just if you are a fanboy, I just want you to really think about what you're doing and what you're saying. And if you're like someone that just goes on and just like spams people and says that this one is better just because, like, just remember why you got into this, why you got into the gaming industry to begin with, because you love games, right? So it don't matter what you buy it on, just love what you're doing. It don't make sense to me. So that's all I gotta say today. If you like what the video was about, if you like what I talked about, leave a like, subscribe, comment, tell me about your fanboy encounters, because we all have plenty of them. I was called mentally retarded for some reason because I said that Sony had a lot of games that they showed at E3. That was my preference. That's just what I said. They did have a lot. Now, in terms of what they had, what they showed us. The whole presentation was trash. It was cinematic, but they did show a lot of games, which is what I came to E3 for. So it was enjoyable to me personally. That's just my preference. I mean, they were all not that good, but I just had to choose one, you know. But you know, comment, share, subscribe, all of that. Give me your feedback. I love feedback. That's what I make this for. I make it for the gamers along with myself, because I feel like I have a lot to talk about. So that's all today. This is Kiyu, and I'm out. Peace.